Kathleen, did you back in from the architect of the design review committee?
I never had been the architect on the designer, well, I shouldn't say never, but 20 years ago.
Gotcha, gotcha. I just knew that was your line of work, so I was like, oh, there's a vacancy.
No,
Gotcha.
and I think this is nothing,
Yeah, then that's okay, that's okay.
Were you on the DRC too?
many years ago.
Oh, okay.
Many years ago. You're on the DRC now?
No.
Oh, okay.
mm,
Oh.
Not yet, don't worry.
One thing is all I can handle.
Yeah.
I should say 1/10 thing is all I can handle.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
So, yeah, how you doing?
Yeah, so is it good?
And Georgia, question, just so you guys know,
Need to get that.
you guys have boxes down in town hall. And then if you want, you can come and pick up. Did you guys get the packet? Did you get it? Okay. So check the box. Yeah, if you want a hard copy, like before the meeting, you know, you can always come grab it.
Oh, that's good. I didn't know. Hi, Cindy. Hi.
Those from CDOT. We read it.
Is that enough for you?
That's complicated. All right. The second word.
Thing, so I try to look at that and actually just download some great things about rendering. I didn't like your video. See that. I thought it was, maybe it was something.
I will follow up tomorrow.
Well, I called it tonight, I said.
Because, well,
Sure.
Thank you. I'm gonna call to order the meeting for the Georgetown Planning Commission for Wednesday, February 2024, 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call?
Alex Cordillo,
Here.
Jay Cooper,
Here.
Bruce Shank, Doug Roscoff,
Here.
Kathleen Hutt,
Here,
and then George Coca, Christian Dixon,
Here.
Chris Sanford.
Here.
Okay, on the agenda, we have expanding the board from 5 seats to 7. The commission will discuss expanding the planning commission from 5 people to 7 people. The comprehensive plan review, the commission will discuss plans to review the progress of the 2016 comprehensive plan and discuss what the town's priorities should be for a future comprehensive plan. And then staff projects, the commission will discuss what projects they may wish to instruct staff in. Staff report.
Would you like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Sure.
It might go under the expanding board seats from 5 to 7. I just want to add a discussion for a process of selecting alternates. Just so we have something in place so that we take care of anything before conflict arises. If somebody thinks there's favoritism or something like that, we just have a process for selecting.
So you're wanting to add,
Just add, we could probably put that under the expanding the board seats, but just a discussion on how we're going to go about selecting alternates so that we make sure that we do it in a fair manner for everybody.
okay, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, so we should add to the agenda. The discussion for process selecting alternates.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All against? Motion passes.
One more addition to the agenda potentially is to discuss my position as a member seat. I move to have that discussion on my member seat added to the end of the agenda.
Okay,
Well, do we need to approve the agenda again with the second amendment?
Has it been
Because we just
approved?
approved it. Yeah,
Yeah, it is approved the agenda. Now you're adding another thing to the agenda, so we have to approve it.
which we can do if
Great.
you want.
so you want to make a motion to discuss your membership on the board?
Yes,
Okay, make a motion.
yeah, well, I motion to, yeah.
second. All in favor? All against? Motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve. What is addition?
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. Okay, first, the first topic on the agenda is the expansion of the board from 5 seats to 7. The reason why this was added to the agenda was because in the past, since I've been here, more than once, I have seen things voted on this board with a quorum of 3 people, things that were very detrimental to this town. And I feel that, it's time to move from 5 to 7 because a quorum of 3 is not enough to make those types of decisions. So,
I fully agree.
with that being said, I'd like to open this up for discussion with the board. Anybody has anything to say?
I think it's a great idea. We've got people that want to serve, so.
Yeah, agreed, and staff, report indicates a lot of pros and cons, and, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Can I just say one thing? I think when we had a quorum of 3, it was because we weren't having enough people to join it. I mean, and I think it's awesome, we have all these people here right now, but what if in 6 months, you know, or whatever, it could go back down? I mean, that's the only thing that's why we were having such a problem with having people. That's why it wasn't like, I just want to throw that out there.
Is there a reason that it's been harder to staff the planning commissions than any of the other commissions that have 7 seats?
And when you only have five, and one person gets sick, and someone can't make it back from work in time, you suddenly have three. And it doesn't, I mean, it sounds like it ought to be a rare thing, but it is not a rare thing. So I'm
It's
fully.
happened more often than not with me sitting here, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate.
And quorum is 50 plus one,
It's 2/3, yeah.
2/3, okay.
Cindy's got a question.
May I,
Cindy?
yeah, I'm Cindy Neely, and once a long time ago, I had your seat right there, it's the planning commission. And the planning commission was originally set up as a 7-person commission. And what tends to happen, and I've been around here forever, and it's happened to the DRC, it's happened actually to all of our commissions. They seem to sort of ebb and flow as far as people willing to serve. The DRC has in the past been reduced to 5 and equally found that it really didn't work and went back to 7. And I think that's what you're finding. Originally, the planning commission was intended to have 7 members for all of the reasons that you speak of.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything to say?
Like to make a motion to approve expanding the planning commission from 5 to 7.
Second,
All in favor? All against? The motion passes.
So just to make sure everyone understands, this is a recommendation to go to the board of selectmen. Good.
And
A meeting which I will be at.
Doug, you,
and then, for the, I'm sorry, give me a second. The discussion, how we're gonna select alternates to fill in
Oh, yeah.
for vacancies. I don't know, I had a couple ideas that I was floating around, some I later thought on, didn't think they were great ideas. And whoever attended the most meetings could fill in as an alternate, but then you can go back and watch meetings online later. So that maybe not be the best gauge of how somebody can, of course, it would be who is here to fill in for a seat, they could maybe defer amongst themselves, choose amongst themselves. I don't know, I just wanted to bounce some ideas and see what everybody else thought, I just think it would be a good idea to have something set, that if we had 3 people in the audience and we had a vacant seat, who gets to take that vacancy?
So actually, I'd like to clarify, what's the difference between a member and an alternate? And to me, the people who are here are members, we're looking for 2 more members. And it's always great to have an alternate or 2, but I think you bring in your alternates when you need to have a quorum or something of that effect.
So, at the last meeting, we voted in Chris, Christian, and Georgia, as well as Karen as alternates. And Bruce to fill the vacant seat. And, an alternate would fill a void seat if somebody did not show up to a meeting.
well, they still have voting power.
Does an alternate
Only
even,
if they're sitting at the table.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right, that's right.
that was my understanding.
Yeah, so like if I wasn't here, they selected Chris to take my space, he would have a vote that night in my
Right,
place.
no, I understand.
But how do we choose Chris?
That's the question, we have more than one,
Are you suggesting that the staff, develop a procedure for?
I don't think we need to go that far with it, I think just as long as we have something that's in the minutes that we could like refer back to, just so we know that we're following a guideline, that we're just not picking up.
If we
And
have,
we could draw high cards if somebody's got a deck of cards.
if we have more than one alternate to choose from, we should take turns.
I was gonna say, take turns and, just have a record of who was alternate.
So if you were the alternate one meeting, we have 2 persons, we would pass on you and go with.
Sure, I have a question. How do we currently select alternates? How are alternates currently selected?
Well, you would submit a letter of intent.
So, but I think to Bruce's point, I think what you're saying is how is that person recruited?
Right now, there isn't one. If there is a vacant seat, I don't think there is a process to who would fill that. And that's why I think we should just have something.
I think you guys vote on it, the commission would vote,
I still think we should distinguish between
and then make a
members
recommendation.
and alternates.
Sorry.
I still think we need to have a regular commission of 7 people.
Right.
We can have alternates in addition to that.
Correct.
So, yeah.
That's, but we already passed, moving to 7, that has to be passed by the board of selectmen, and now we're
Right.
talking about, you know, if
How?
in the future, somebody doesn't show up and we have an alternate sitting in the seat that can fill one of our seats, how do we select the alternate if there's more than one sitting over there?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
how did you select them?
No, this is like, when we're sitting right here, somebody wasn't able to make it,
Here you
how
go.
do we take one of the alternates, how do we decide which alternate
Scroll through.
comes up and takes a seat?
So like currently, so if the board of selectmen now move it to 7,
Right.
now of these 3, how do we select
Well,
from these 3?
there's 4.
Or 7,
There's
I know,
four, right.
but currently,
But there'll only be
No,
2,
yeah.
since it's going to 7.
So between those two,
Yeah,
if we get more alternate, those two, just take.
Yeah, the board of selectmen will select the 2,
right,
because that.
Upon you guys' recommendation.
Well, yeah, you can make recommendations, so that's good, but then now you're talking about 2, you'll have to choose 2 out of the group that you're recommending.
So first, the board of selectmen would either choose to pass or not pass, us moving from 5 to 7. And then at the next meeting next month, we would amongst us choose.
Could we not with the,
No.
I was just saying, could we not with this recommendation, go ahead and say, give a recommendation for the 2 to add,
So we can do that.
just kind of streamline it?
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah.
That, you can go ahead and assume, and then if they shoot it down, then they shoot
And
it
say,
down.
if they approve this, these are the 2 that we recommend for the thing, just kind of streamline the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple things you can do. You can do alphabetical order, and then, and if that person served and get, you know, you just move to the next, letter. So your first name or last name, you could do an alphabetical order, and then you get to choose, like, you're A, B, C kind of thing, and so you can just rotate. And then you can keep track through, making sure you saw who it was, the alternate was
Keep track.
selected. Yeah,
Take turns.
So there's 2 questions that I'm hearing. One is, how do we pick 2 people to join on the board to bring it to 7, correct? And the second is, how do we choose an alternate when a board member is not present?
Yeah, my main question was, yes, how do we select a alternate when a board member?
But I think it's
Not
Boston.
But it is.
So we have 2 questions.
And then there's a third thing where how are you gonna handle the Zoom virtual participants? What if they're here and they're virtual, does that count? Or, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Are you
I mean,
talking
it
about-
counts, but I'm just saying, would that be thrown into the mix? Cause we've had that.
thanks,
with-
Jan.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm trying to be proactive.
I think
Sorry.
it should count. You could be sick and still be at home and you could be an alternate and it counts.
So,
You can be board
Dave?
members.
so there's the 2 questions about alternates.
I think that we should, go over people's resumes and look at it and make the choice that way.
So do you think we should make a choice on recommending 2 for the 2 seats of the 7, if they do pass tonight?
Unfortunately, we won't have had time to review those, and I think it's important to see what people's backgrounds are and who complements whoever else is on the board already.
So you think we should wait until the next meeting to do that?
Except the board of selectmen may do it for you when they expand to 7 members.
And didn't we do this at the last meeting when
We
we
did,
all
but
stood
she-
up and, oh, okay.
I mean, if Georgia and Christian and Chris, wanna do that again, they're more than welcome to.
I mean, I could send you all of their letters
Sure.
of intent,
I think
and you
that's
can also
the
watch
best.
the last meeting.
I think so, and, or we can call in, I guess.
And do all 4
some-
want to be, like, there might be, maybe not all 4 alternates want to be permanent members on the board, right? There may be 2 or 3 or 1 or whoever who don't want to. So I think that's part of the question that Kathy's going as well, right? Who are the ones who want to be considered, and then put their names in the hat, and you guys review the resumes, et cetera.
Not everyone may.
Okay, so.
Yeah, one may not want to do it, maybe Karen doesn't want to do it, or me, or, I don't know.
Do you want to be a permanent member of the board?
I would like to be considered.
Do you?
I'll remain alternate.
Do you want to be a permanent member?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two people in the room right now that.
And
that-
Karen
that's
is not
considered
here.
members.
Yeah.
There's one person that hasn't shown up to two of the meetings.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
That's what it tells.
I would
Yeah.
like to go back and amend the vote, well, yeah,
can we amend the agenda?
well, there's already been an agenda, but.
Well, just a discussion.
Well, what's he trying to say? Let's let him know.
I was gonna say amend the motion that was made earlier for expanding the seats from 5 to 7, with the recommendation of Chris and, I'm sorry, Georgia?
Georgia.
Yeah, of Chris and Georgia to fill those 2 extra seats.
What about Karen? Should we?
I second.
Okay.
She missed 2 meetings.
Understand.
You guys have been here, so that's,
Okay, so,
Okay.
I second.
okay, and then you're the chairman, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against?
Okay.
I'll say I'm a reluctant, yes. I would really like to have the time to look over
And I think that's
resumes.
important. I think that should happen.
And so I'm reluctant to make recommendations as to who should be on at this point.
I hear you.
Well, I can go back to what Cindy was saying earlier about how.
I know what the board is having been choosing for us.
The towns haven't heard enough time filling these seats as it is, so, I mean, with 3 alternates, you know, I mean, 2 spots to fill, so I think that the planning commission should, you know, take kind of who is volunteering and who is willing to, you know, put their time in and be here on the Wednesday nights. If there, another option would be to open it as a, you know, just as we did the last time when they were searching for board members to fill the other couple seats, we could open it up for, you know, another available 2 seats and let more applicants put in their letters of intent if they would like to as well, so.
Can I ask you a question? When you guys did the training with Jerry Dahl, were you guys part of that too?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And Karen was here that
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so that we wouldn't have to do that again.
No. And that'd be my second time going through that.
No, I can't tell you how many times I've been here. I mean, it's good, however, we pay for that.
No, Jerry, it's interesting every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bruce, you're recommending Georgia and Chris to become the permanent members, right?
Yes, recommend the board of selectmen expand the seats from 5 to 7 with Georgia and Chris being a recommendation to
Okay.
fill those seats.
And we have, a letters of intent to put in the packet?
Yeah,
Okay.
And
from last time.
This is the same one from before.
Okay.
Okay, are we still discussing alternates? How did
No,
you-
do you want to take a vote on this,
On what we
on
just learned?
the membership? We didn't vote on the membership after you decided to just add 2 people who are here,
I think the motion was just amended, right, Bruce?
yes,
was it?
But did you guys all
Okay.
vote? I mean, you
And then-
said reluctantly yes.
you said
I'll say no, because I think
Say
it's,
no.
I think it's a
Could've
bad
said-
position to be in. I mean, I don't think it's good to. Actually, I only know 2 of you, but it's, I don't have problems. I'm just saying it's a bad procedure,
So you're voting no, everybody else
Yeah.
voted yes, right?
so I don't have problems with people, just,
Procedure, right, exactly.
and we can continue the discussion on filling alternates when that need arises. We don't need to keep dragging that out.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on, this topic? The comprehensive plan review, this was a discussion that, myself, Rick, and Kasia had and started on, however, Kasia's not here tonight, so I've been instructed to, table this until the next meeting, so I'm gonna ask for a motion to table this until the next meeting.
I move to table this till the next meeting.
A second,
Aye.
all in favor?
Sorry.
Motion passes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Did you want to discuss your board membership? Was that part of the first?
We're gonna get to that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, since I added it to the agenda, I'll just wait.
Can I make a comment before we move on? I think it's really important just for this board, since it's a very young board, to understand, the comprehensive plan has been part of this board for a long time, and many members like Kathy have spent hours and months upon this. And so part of it is just needs to know where we are. And we probably need to have other voices also, because like the DRC has been part of this. The plan, I mean, it almost feels like it should be discussed in a whole different forum where we invite multiple boards to discuss this. Because many of you guys have no clue, and you may say, I don't like that, and it's like, well, you don't know why it was there. And it's easy to have an opinion when you don't need one. And we really need to have our elders who've spent a lot of time in planning through this to understand, because you may have questions. Your comprehensive plan is a guide document, and it's really important that you project it as what your future is gonna be building. However, your comprehensive plan can also change, needs change. And so it's really important to be very understanding of what the real needs are as you project your future of what your town development is gonna be. And understand that there are specific things that this board is looking at. However, I still think that it may be important to table this, but also think through this a little bit more with Kasia and maybe open it up to a more of a community forum or getting the specific boards together who have spent a lot of time on this before you make any kind of decisions. So just.
Yeah, and just to highlight on that, because one of the things I wrote in my notes, it talks about here the town drainage. And I was sitting in one of the DRC meetings where the issue down there at Nathan Rose, the DRC started talking about what we're gonna do with town drainage. So I think it's also very important that we all be on this, that we're not doubling up work.
Yes.
That if the DRC is looking at town drainage, but we're doing this in the comprehensive plan for town drainage, we should all be on the same page with that.
And I know Bruce, and I appreciate you've been to a lot of these meetings, other meetings, and so you've heard from DRC and the Board of Selectmen, but some of you guys haven't, and it's really good that we walk lightly, especially when others have put a lot of time in this. And but we also want to hear from our, stakeholder. I mean, Cindy Neely she knows this stuff.
She's here to talk about it.
I know she is. But there are others, like Bob Hamilton, he'd have a lot to say and he's not here, and he should be, Joan and Mark Reynolds. I mean, we've got some people who understand this and spend a lot of time with this, so I just want to give my recommendations to you guys.
Yeah, and I mean, he's right about all this. During the time that I spent with Rick and Kasia talking about going over this, and then the time I spent with Kasia going over this, I made several phone calls about a lot of the items that were in here, because I didn't know what some of this stuff was, and finding out, I was like, oh, well, that's been done. Oh, well, who? Like, this is like a whole different board. Why is this? So there's a whole lot in here that I didn't even understand, so.
And I would suggest you guys going through as a commission and going through like each chapter and reading it together, and so you guys do get all on the same page, and that's how we did it originally in 21, I mean.
But we all read it before we sat down and.
Right, everybody reads it, but then as go through each, I remember we went through each chapter at a meeting, and then had discussion and,
Mhm.
and then went through and outlined everything, I mean, it was, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Good.
I also have a question for you, Rick. At some point, there will be a new plan, I understand? In other words, just not a repeat of this plan fixed up again?
Yeah, and there's like, every so many years, they'll do a complete update.
And,
And we haven't, there's not an RFP to do that at this point. but-
Okay.
But we will need to do that. This would-
like, is that gonna be like 2
It's
years, 4 years?
2016.
2015, yeah.
2016 actually adopted, I believe,
Yeah, so.
and that was 14 years after the one in front of it.
It's probably time. I mean,
Okay.
every 10 years, things change. And so we're 8 years in, so 2 years, we're close to that 10-year mark.
Mhm.
And that could be wonderful.
I think,
Yeah.
so I think, Rick, the plan is to come up with a game plan for this and our board, and then any other board involved with it, and get us all together. A
That's-
separate meeting other than this meeting,
I would suggest that.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I would even put together, like, maybe you can consider like a special board that has 2 or 3 people from each commission sitting on it. And just something to think about, that might.
Yeah, I like a committee.
Yeah.
You set up a committee of representatives. We can mention in the Board of Selectmen too. And then you can mention the DRC if there's people that want to be part of that.
And actually, the DRC, with the last planning board, the DRC said it would be, because those two boards really have to understand each other. Because you're right, we end up on the same topics all the time. And we're suggesting that sort of on a regular basis, that one commission visits the other, that we sort of plan it out that way. And if we're headed towards a new plan, that might even be quarterly, that we want for, and all the members who can make it, make it. You don't assign it to just 2 or 3, so you get all the members who, for instance, if it's the night for planning to come visit the DRC, all of you will be more than welcome to do that, and the reverse. And actually, when Dwayne was chairman here, we had just sort of started that kind of a pattern. I do think that before you start on a new plan, the existing plan, it's interesting, the plan of 2002 was very different in construct from the plan of 2015. That's just how it was laid out and how it was determined what was most important and et cetera. But I think it would be helpful to do some of what Jen's suggesting. Take what you have and go through it, and maybe you don't go through it chapter by chapter. Maybe you get to all the chapters, but pick the chapters you think are most important for the town and start with those and become familiar with what you think is good in them and what you think really needs to be changed in them. It's sort of a perfect time to do that. And actually, I didn't come here to discuss that. I came here to bring the planning commission up to date with a couple of projects that the town is doing that sort of relate to planning, and we're doing them, and I would want the members of the planning commission to know it. I also find it really exciting to sit here because for a number of years, what the planning commission has been doing has been totally reactive. If somebody had a question about zoning, very involved and needed a special use permit, et cetera, they'd come to the planning commission. What the planning commission hasn't been doing is planning. And I think you guys agree. I think it's really good to see people at the table who say, you know, we're here to try to make things happen. In addition to, I mean, yes, you have the role of granting permit certain kinds, or you have that quasi judicial role, but you also have a future role, which is great. But I did, you know, I've got 2 little things that so you would have background in some of the things, projects that I'm seeing.
Are we moving to the staff projects? Are we done with the minutes? Well, we included the comprehensive. Yeah. Is there I mean, all I'm reading the case right here, the commission will discuss.
I'm staff.
Okay.
I was gonna say, that's.
I'm staff.
So
Because
kind of rotating.
yeah, because I don't know if you know that, but the town hired me as a private consultant to manage certain projects. And I've been doing that on and off for years. It involves largely projects that need to be funded. And part of what I do then is try to figure out who will fund it and do applications for funding. This started with a cute little thing called the Georgetown Gateway Master Plan. And this came out of the 2002 comprehensive plan. And it said we had to do something with Argentine Street, which at that time, could I say it looked dreadful, Kath?
Sure.
Yeah, it did. There was no roundabout, there was no visitor center, there was no 7th Street Bridge, there were no sidewalks, there were no lights. And so what we developed, and you see, this was what grew out of the master plan. We picked what is the most important project we can think of doing. The master plan was full of projects. And we picked, what is the thing we really want to see done? And can make a visual change in the town, and then we pulled it out and said, let's make a distinct plan for it. And so, we actually hired people to help us with this, and they came up with a lovely document that told us what the street could look like. And it's taken 20 years, but we've made it.
With all our bushes.
Yes. But what did happen, and what it did was help keep us focused on the goal. And it, in order, we got a visitor center, we got a 7th Street Bridge, we had to wait till Pomelo Pass was finished in order to get a sidewalk in, because this had to do with how you fund things, because the FHWA used it as a haul route. They had to repair it for the town. We told them they could repair it by moving it over and helping us build sidewalks and put in lights. And so that's how that came about, and then the roundabout got put in. There used to be 25 wires that went across that intersection.
Before it was a roundabout, I'm guessing it was a light.
No, there was nothing there, it was bedlam.
Four-way intersection.
It was a 4-way intersection, and when the fire department wanted to get out of town, it was really.
Stop signs?
Fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
You think the roundabout's bad, trying to get out of the opposite side.
Oh, no. Roundabout's really bad when there's people at the roundabout that don't know how to use one.
Yes, well, there is that, but it is far better than it was, and look for us, it is. And over the last several years, we've been able to extend down from 11th to Loop Drive, and then Loop Drive to 6th Street with sidewalk and lights and those things. And what we are doing right now, even though it is the new master plan, and it's sort of in the fine print, we're gonna extend it from 15th Street the other way to 22nd Street.
Argentine North.
Argentine North. And Argentine North, having spent 5 hours on the phone today with CDOT, is not out to bid yet. But is funded up to, for construction up to 1.9 million. It probably is too little funding for everything we have in mind, but I think that we will manage the sidewalk and the lights going down the east side of the road, and we will manage a, you may not like this, we'll manage a little roundabout at 22nd Street. We have to slow the traffic down, people drive like bedlam down that street, and we now have apartment houses right along the street where people have children and no sidewalks and no sense of. So that is in the work. We hope to be under construction this summer. I will not say we will be, because that would jinx it, but we hope to be under construction. And as members of the planning commission, I would wish you to know that. And if you have any questions, ask Rick.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is this one, you said 1.9 million has been allotted?
Yes,
Does this sidewalk include a bike path as well on that 1.9 million?
but there's a bike path on the west side, not on the same side. There's not, it's funny, we have a big right of way because it was an old highway right of way. So we have 100 feet, but the road is pushed towards the, east side, so most of the space is on the west side. So for about half of it, we can put the bike path in. For the other half, well, first of all, we run into wetland, but secondly, we run across commercial property that has not yet been developed. And to put a bike path in where you have no idea where somebody's gonna want it is sort of putting money down the drain in a way. So we will mark the road though in a different way, so that it will be known that there are bikes on the road. The sidewalk is the most important to us because that's what goes by all the residential units and takes you down to the microtel,
And that's gonna be on the east side of the
and
road.
that's on the east side of the road, and the streetlight's gonna be on the east side of the road.
Well, my question about the bike path was because we have a bike path on the south side of the roundabout that no bikes even use, so
Yeah. Yeah, and it's,
they prefer to use the road.
yes, well, bikes in general prefer to use the road. Even when we construct a bike path, I'm not sure that we get bikes on it.
Yeah.
We may get bikes to get them around the 22nd Street thing, so they don't have to get in the roundabout. We will definitely give them the space to get around the roundabout without being, because it's a small roundabout, and we would like them out of it. So we will definitely get that space. But again, this is hope for construction this summer, and so as members of the planning commission, if the neighbors say what's going on down there, well, it's in the plan and we're executing the plan.
Cindy, is there a plan like this for Argentine North with the illustrations and the plans and the designs that you guys are talking about?
There's a set of construction plans. This plan
This
is
is
not,
for Argentine South,
is for Argentine South.
but there's not one like this for Argentine North.
No, no, what we did is simply say we're going
This is the
to,
one.
we're going to extend it. Same kind of sidewalk, same kind of lights, same kind, same specs. The specs for the, bike trail, because it's part of the Clear Creek Greenway, are not necessarily our specs. So yeah, we just extended the theme right down the street of Argentine North. At the request of lots of folks who live there. So help out our end.
Well, that one must make more sense for the bike path to go through Greenway Park, because then you would kind of continue down towards the lake bike path. And you could jump right on the lake bike path and have to keep people off of that main traffic way as well.
Well, that's true, but the bike path for the Greenway has to be concrete and it has to be painful wide and there has to be lots of things that we're not gonna do around the lake.
Right.
And so and actually, where the county laid it out and where your maps in your comprehensive plan lays out the bike path, it's on the west side, it's between the road and the interstate. For the through bikes and lots of pleasure bikes around the lake. But the through bikes, we're gonna have trouble getting them off the road anyway, but, because you're right, you're gonna do the road. So that's one of the projects that I work on.
Who's doing this project? Is it the town or?
The town,
Yeah, town.
yeah, it's the town's project.
Do you, and, one other thing I would add to that is, there's 6 telephone or power poles, XL power poles going down Argentine that are like a foot and a half from Argentine. All of those poles are planning to be removed, and then we're gonna bury them. And so you also have
Excellent, to come out and do a direct burial.
Yeah.
yes, they're gonna do it from 22nd Street, just north of that, and they're gonna dogleg over to the west side and then bring it down the west side.
So they're gonna be out here drilling before,
Yeah, they're gonna have to remove all of that before we have our construction.
Yes,
And
and then
then, the other Lumen and what's the other name of it?
Comcast,
Comcast will bury their lines, but they're gonna go through Bighorn Crossing.
oh, really?
no, actually, they've switched it, they're all gonna be on the west side.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's new.
So they met actually up there, they've been meeting, and
Is the west side commercial or residential?
the west side is virtually nothing. After a certain point, it is simply right of way.
Yeah.
So
It is commercial, it's gateway commercial zoning.
it's gateway commercial for as far as it goes, which is about to where the 3 new apartments are, about across from there. And then that tapers in and one highway right of way met another highway right of way. So from there on down on the west side is not zoned anything because it is all highway right of way.
So it's
One
gonna
thing
clean
or
it up.
another, cars or
Clean it up.
speedos.
You don't see the big poles anymore, it'll look good. And then, in the parking lot, right at 22nd Street, the town parking lot right there, we'll have one of the junction boxes will be right there. And so we'll lose a little bit of parking space, but we're gonna redesign that parking lot anyways.
That's not part of this project.
So the current utilities are aerial and Comcast is gonna come in and do a direct burial. Do you know, that's fiber, I'm guessing? Or is it coax?
Probably coax.
I
I don't think
I
they have
don't
fiber
know.
over there.
No?
I don't know, but they seem to be pretty comfortable with it, it's Excel, who was, you know,
Well, I mean, these are good conversations to have because along with them doing that, like if Excel is varying lines, the cost or expense to the town could be mitigated if they put sidewalk or something that would protect their investment of the varied lines.
it's hard enough to get them to vary the line.
Yeah, I know this for a fact, I used to do horizontal directional drilling, and it's, working with these companies is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, and the other thing is it's not costing the town.
Yeah.
Because one is those lines that were put in, that's a foot from Argentine were temporary, and it's in the town right away, and it's a hazard. So it was never designed to be long-term. Excel realizes that now we need that right of way back to put our sidewalk. And so this is the time for them to move it into a permanent location.
Are the town's contract with Excel is not called a contract, but
Or franchise agreement?
yes, our franchise agreement with Excel indicates that they have to get out of the way of any public road projects. So in a sense, they could get out of the way by moving poles. It's just when they got out there to try to figure out how to move poles, they looked at it and said, no, it's actually easier for us.
And since Bighorn is still in development, they're afraid wherever they put it is gonna have to be moved again. And so it's easier for them. Jeannie is the one who's involved.
Yeah, for the constituents of the town, for reliability purposes, just keep that in mind, is, you know, you don't wanna cause problems for reliability of your service from Excel Energy. You don't want power going out because they're moving. That's why I was just forward thinking possibly if you could protect where your burial lines are with your sidewalk or.
Actually, we'll sort of have the bike trail on top of it,
Yeah.
You know, it's
which
okay.
is the same thing as putting a sidewalk.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, in the end of the summer, we had some really bad windstorms come through. And we had some of the power poles broke.
Well, I was driving down I-70 going east after that happened,
Yeah,
and there was a line laying all the way across eastbound lane.
yeah.
So, yeah, I drove right over it, I was like,
That was a chaotic day.
I was up at St. Mary's Glacier on a job site and the power goes out. And I'm like, great. So I leave. Head down to Georgetown, all the power's out, keep there, all the power's out, I was pretty everywhere.
Well, for those of us that work at home on the internet, it's gonna give us a lot more outages this summer.
Made a part for us to really, that worked with electricity as well.
Yes, exactly.
There wasn't very much, electricity.
You know, it was actually the day in which we were gonna be on TV. That's when it was the Today Show.
Right,
And
yeah.
we wanted the whole town lit up and all of a sudden all these poles came. They were like, oh no, and Excel came and immediately fixed it, because they knew we were gonna be on the TV, on the Today Show.
I didn't want to take up too much of your time.
No, sorry,
While we're
Cindy, go ahead.
speaking of Excel, this is the other project that I would like everybody to be aware of. I probably don't plan enough for everybody.
I can make some copies.
I have,
That's one here. Chris? Can everybody see one? Yeah, that sort of works. As you probably know and have heard, the Excel company is decommissioning their reservoir, dam, penstock, and powerhouse here in Georgetown. So they're taking that whole hydro system out. It's a historic hydro system. It doesn't make enough money for their grid, and basically they're getting rid of all the small hydros in Colorado. Our small hydro happens to be a component to our landmark district, and it happens to be a museum. So, and we have a recreation area that sits right next to its reservoir.
This building here.
Yeah, that one right there. So the other interesting thing, and I'm not sure that a great many people know this, if you look at your map, at the top of your map is the grid of the town. And then you can see the white line in the trail, actually that's the Rutherford Trail, that goes all the way up to the fact that at the bottom of your map, you have, the little lake. Excel owns that little white piece that is the lake. It owns the little white pieces along the trail, and it owns this. All of that yellow land belongs to the town of Georgetown. And I think that lots of folks who live here in town don't realize that the town owns massive amounts of the mountainside. Now, we own it as a part of a patent from the Bureau of Land Management. It's a recreation and public purpose patent. We can use it for recreation and public purpose. So we can put a water plant on it and we put trails on it. We can't sell it. That's part of the patent. And it actually was given to the town. The other entities, jurisdictional entities, the map is in back of you. The jurisdictional entities in the landmark district were given the lands that were close to them. We were given the yellow ones up there on that map. And the blue ones went to the state, and the purple ones went to Silver Palm, and the red is all Clear Creek. The red you see on this is Clear Creek on the open space, buying mining claims in order to help with the trail system. And you can see the trail system is really all over the place. And is much enjoyed. So the town is working, there is a hydro task force. And Rick stepped me back.
One of the best, right?
Well, because it is of interest to the town well, first of all, it's a huge interest to the town, because if you look at there's a place coming down right outside of, it's actually, the maps go this way, but the water's flowing towards you.
That's what I flipped it around.
Yes, you have to listen around, but as you come down here, when you get down here, you got our water treatment plant. So when they unhooked their penstock that drove the power plant is up on the reservoir. I gotta do it this way. Here's your reservoir. You got the penstock and it flows downhill. Well, when you unhook the penstock, it means you increase the volume in the creek, obviously. And what they did right away was fill our water plant with mud. So we have a lot of interest in how they take care of this. And Ryan Zabel will tell you that I think he doesn't sleep some nights over what happens to. They ended up buying us new filters, but we're in negotiation with them about what happens to the lands that they own.
Does the town try to buy that?
Well, they say they're gonna dispose of it. They have to do mitigation because they are essentially destroying a historic resource. So the national park designation that we have, because they are licensed by FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC will tell them they have to compensate us in some way for, so our idea.
The compensation could be the land.
Yes, that's our idea. We haven't sold that idea yet, but we're working on it. Yeah, we all love that idea. It's not so easy. It's very hard to discover who makes actual decisions in Excel.
And that's a huge question, that's for sure.
Yes, it's a huge question. It's an entertainment.
So Cindy, I can't take this anymore. Doug works for Excel.
Yes, I do.
And yours at the plant.
And you work up at
Cabin Creek.
Cabin Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know exactly what's happening here.
Yeah,
And you know that it's hard to find who's making the actual.
Very much so.
So,
Doug and I are friends too.
yeah.
We know, he knows, and I know,
Yeah,
but you know.
well, I did not know, but I would have said that, I say that to Excel people all the time.
No, for sure.
Who makes decisions in this crowd? We think we have some idea. We are.
Maybe he knows.
He actually thinks all these things. He's
Oh,
responsible.
then Historic Georgetown has said that they are willing to take on the museum, the powerhouse. They're not willing to buy that building because that building needs help too. So, but this is an ongoing thing. So if you, because as members of the planning commission, I think you will come to find people ask you why this hasn't happened, what's going on with this, you know, you get all of those questions. So,
I have a question.
yeah, go.
So if they're determining that more water is going to be coming down that way, did
Yeah.
they have new flood maps drawn?
Well, actually, they don't have a new flood map, but they're, I mean, you're gonna hear the sirens go off, what, Wednesday?
Yeah,
Which
testing of the
Wednesday is that?
sirens.
Testing of the sirens. They did a new flood plan. I mean, they decided that we could get somewhat inundated.
And I wanna know if that's why my flood insurance went up by $1,000 this year.
I have no idea.
My flood insurance went up by about
Well,
$1,000.
you can still get house insurance after the fires, we're all lucky.
That went up too.
What's happened most recently, you have HDR is the green, Historic Georgetown, because they likewise pick up, and if you look at that map, you'll find green sort of scattered all over the place. They're all mining claims, rather than people putting them on tax sales or whatever. HDI says, you know, give it to us, we will give you a tax write-off and a donation write-off, and it helps protect the little pieces that are inside the bigger pieces. Interestingly enough, if you look right down below the dam up there, Excel indicated that they were putting the elbow of the penstock and they cut off the pipe, you know, you have to put an elbow on it so it goes into the creek. They indicated they were putting an elbow on their own land. They don't own any land at the bottom of their spillway. The elbow is on Clear Creek and the riprap is on HDI. So the three groups have agreed that we will let each other know when Excel is asking permits, and so that we can work in some sort of coordination. And I have no idea the chances of success, etc. But we will make the effort.
And you said there's a new flood plan?
No, they did a new analysis. But I don't trust it because I think they did it in order to make the dam labeled a high hazard dam, because it's easier to get it decommissioned if you can get it labeled. So it doesn't indicate that we're really going to be inundated also. It indicates that if the whole lake up there were full and it was let go, that you might have some damage to essentially the power plant structure down here. But you wouldn't, it doesn't impact our floodplain.
It doesn't.
No, it does not. It does impact the hydrology. And, you know, we have concerns for the Rutherford Trail Bridge, those kinds of things. But if you have questions, yes, you can vote Rick. But I wanted you to have the map and know what was going on, and you know, that's because you're going to actually be playing.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So are you saying in a way that like, because they're decommissioning all this stuff, that there could be a higher potential for flood?
No.
Okay.
That is not what I'm saying, because there won't be a higher potential for floods. It does.
Actually, you know, I know you're saying that, but I do know that when we had that flood back in 2000, or exactly what year, I can't recall.
It was
There was-
because they let the water go.
Yeah, and they could have stopped it, so it means if the dam is not there, then clearly the water will go.
Yes, well, and you see what concerns me, and I'm gonna look straight at you, what concerns me is that you have a couple of lakes up above our little reservoir, you have Clear Lake, and then you have the two that go with Cabin Creek. The up and the down, but Clear Lake, and they use Clear Lake to measure a flow. But what our little reservoir has done, it's been able to, when they flush sort of Clear Lake, it has been able to sort of slow that whole process down because they let our reservoir get low and then they let Clear Lake go and our reservoir comes up, so we can measure it. And now with Clear Lake, when you sort of open Clear Lake to let it go, there's nothing that slows it down. And I think the hydrology question is absolutely above my pay grade, but that there is a question. My pay grade is figuring out how we try to keep contact with what's happening, and we do monitor the FERC website so that we know when anybody files anything about this case. And we are in contact and negotiations, Ryan particularly on the water plan issues, me on the required mitigation issues. It's gonna, at some level, I think they also wanna outweigh us. You know, they just drag their feet a little while, they'll forget about it. So I'm trusting that if something happens to me, you guys won't forget about it.
So, on behalf of the town, I'm still concerned about flooding. And you're not really following that because you've got other particular issues that you're
Yes,
following.
and I,
So I was just wondering if Rick is really the person who's following all of that that's going on.
Right.
he's more in the hydrology and the water quality end of it, and I'm more in the property end of it.
Yesterday, I was reviewed by Excel in the county's emergency management plan, what would happen and how we're gonna, respond. Who's gonna be notified? How much time are you gonna have? What's the announcements gonna, so we went through a whole emergency management plan. If the forebay fails, if Clear Lake fails, if Cabin Creek fails. And, you know, it's, the forebay's gonna have some flooding, it's not catastrophic. The others are catastrophic.
That's right.
So if
Yeah.
Clear Lake fails, it's catastrophic. That's the newer of the dams, so we have less concerns if Clear Lake dam fails. Cabin Creek, they have constantly been doing, in fact, Doug can probably give you the most latest information about what they're doing at Cabin Creek. But I understand that that was from the 1960s, and they've been doing maintenance constantly on both the upper and lower dams. I am aware, I mean, after you see the scary potential what can happen of what the latest dam fails in the last 20 or so dams that have failed. Some of them have failed, 100 years and they failed. Some were 30 years. Some were brand new 1 year and it failed. And it's scary. I've seen the documents of what could happen and the devastation that comes and the deaths that come. One was like 2,000 people died. It just.
But not, yeah, this isn't the stuff for the.
Yeah, I'm just.
No, but I
I'm just
understand.
telling you,
Yeah.
we have 3 dams. And that, in Georgetown is a 4th, because we have a dam too. So it's like, this would not just impact Georgetown, but we're talking about everything downstream to Golden would be impacted. But there's precautionaries, there's notifications, and that's what we went through yesterday. It's just, so I'm aware, I have the right numbers to call. They have my numbers, there's a notification system, and so we went through all that with Excel yesterday.
But it is true that you take out one of the spots in that whole chain, and you have taken out a small piece of the protection of the ability to slow down there.
So their decision to close down the dam up there and everything else has a major impact on this town.
Yes.
Yes,
Absolutely, it
It
does.
does. It is at end of life.
And so I guess the question is, if they're doing something like that, don't they have to mitigate those
Yes.
kinds of concerns?
Yes,
They do.
probably, yes.
That's why this is not this is a very slow process. There are phases of how we're doing it, and Cindy's been very involved of what the mitigation with, the penstock is gonna be one. You know,
Yeah.
Part of it will be removed, part of it will not, part will be filled.
Some of it has been.
It's been cut off and, but
It's
anyways,
cut off
there's,
in half, but we don't want water building up in it.
Right.
We don't want that pressure
Yes.
coming right by our water plant, because the day something that, it bursts, we
Yeah.
really have a problem, so you have to take care of the penstock. Taking out the dam itself, the town has a watershed protection area that goes up 5 miles up south of Clear Creek. It actually goes up to Cabot. And so, they have to come for permits, and Rick has been working through the first permit on what they can do to sort of mitigate. The other problem we have with the reservoir, do you think about it? The first little reservoir, our reservoir up there, they test the water up at Clear Lake, and they say, no problem, because, you don't have much mining up above it. Well, the thing that comes in just to our reservoir is the whole drainage out of the Waldorf Basin. And I suspect you've all been up in the Waldorf Basin, and it's a heavily mined area, and that's the sediments in that our reservoir are heavy metal sediment ponds. So we have to be very careful that when they take out a dam, we're not shrinking all that sediment into our water plant and into our lagoon and into our lake.
Yeah, 'cause it has happened in the past, I believe.
As has happened in the past, you believe quite correctly.
but there's different stages of this for the decommissioning, and it's just a very early stage. And the reason why the penstock elbow had to be turned is because it put so much pressure of water on the forebay that it could compromise that. So they wanted to keep it at a low hazard, and that's the first step, is to keep that going.
And the only reason that they penstock couldn't continue to do that is that the dam wasn't well maintained, so its other mudslide outlets had blocked up years ago, and they were not ever repaired. So, it just gets to be.
But we're just at
You
the
could
first
point
stage.
your
right?
fingers forever, but we have to sort of go with what is, and, the big decommission is probably 3 to 5 years.
How old was the dam at Clear Creek or Clear Lake?
Clear Lake?
Clear Lake is
A
new.
couple of years old.
Who inspects that dam? Do they expect it first?
The Division of Water Resources out of
Is that
the
every
state.
year?
That's Colorado, yes, they do every year. But our little dam on our little reservoir was built in 1906, and underneath that concrete is still the wood cribbing.
When you say our reservoir, are you talking about Georgetown Lake?
No, I'm talking about our reservoir, that's not our
What's it,
reservoir.
what is it?
It is, it's called.
Is this the very first
They call it the
empty
forebay, but it is the Georgetown Reservoir, because that's the reservoir for this town.
Where is it?
Is
It's
this?
Over by
a
Silverdale.
mile, it's 2 miles.
Is that by
up the road.
Silverdale.
Oh,
Okay,
Yes,
This is the very first little almost empty.
yes.
Almost
Oh.
empty some of the time,
Yeah,
almost too
okay,
full
I know
of
what
the
you're
time,
talking about.
because they let you let Clear Lake out above it and it fills it.
Okay.
So yeah, Excel's been regulating it off, sort of, off,
And that's the last line of defense.
yeah,
Okay.
Well, that dam was built when the power plant was originally built to feed the turbines that
yeah.
actually powered up the town back in the early 1800s.
When they put the elbow in it, it shut down the powerhouse, and the powerhouse had run those Pelton water wheels for 118 years. And, one day they stopped. It was sort of, it makes it quiet. which is really weird to me, because I walk home that way all the time. You used to be able to hear them. Makes it quiet. Anyway, those are two of the projects that the town is currently working on I thought the planning commission would like to be informed of. I would also like to say that I really like the idea that we get commissions together, and I'm willing to help in any way I can.
Thanks, Cindy. The last thing on the agenda is Doug.
Yeah, well, that ties in really well, so what I was going to talk about is, I have applied for some higher level management positions at Excel Energy, so that promotes a conflict of interest of me being on this planning commission. So
Assuming you get those.
assuming I get those,
Is it just out of, is it still up there, or is it down there, or
what do you mean?
the position?
No, four up here.
Oh.
We're up here at Cabin Creek. So, yeah, with the conversations we've been having and this just kind of being a good transition with extra alternates as well, I would put it up for recommendation from the commission or from the, planning commission to either vacate my position as a member and put me as an alternate and perhaps promote Karen, up to a member. And I'd like to be involved as much as possible. And, just with the transitions of last month and the conversations of kind of having pressure to come to the meetings a little bit more, it puts more of a financial burden on being here. You know, I'm supposed to be at work right now, but, just taking some time off to be present instead of being on Zoom meetings. I made that decision. I didn't, nobody else made that decision. But, along with that, I just think it would be more of a pertinent. Our plan was to purchase a home here and to be heavily involved into the town and into the community. Since purchasing down in Wiggins, we're just trying to make the best possible scenario, for our family. I would like to stay involved with the planning commission, but, at this point, I think it would be better suited for the town if I took an alternate position rather than being a sitting member or a voting member, so. With that, I mean, it's up to the board,
When do you expect to hear?
within the next couple months about the jobs, directly, referring to the jobs at Excel, that's one thing. Senior management position would not allow me to, kind of like I did here, I'm unable to tell the public exactly what's happening. You didn't give any misinformation of what's happening whatsoever, but I'm just not at liberty to be able to share the details of both sides. It's just a conflict of interest.
But your current position doesn't include
Well, so if we're not talking about this during the meeting, it's not a conflict of interest.
I know, but as things continue on, as I continue to try to progress my career, I can see that this might be a decision I need to make.
Do you wanna wait until you find out if you get the promotion?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we can come back to this topic.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Anything else?
Couple of minutes.
Can I get an approval of the minutes?
They're from December 20th, 2023.
Move to approve the minutes of December 20th. 2023.
I second that.
All in favor?
Yeah.
All right.
Aye.
What are you saying? Bruce?
Sorry?
How are you voting? I just have to make.
Oh, I thought, sorry,
Okay, so had you read them and stuff?
yes,
Okay. Just because you weren't on the board then?
yes, I got it in the packet, I read it.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.